Queen Camilla and her inner circle just got caught dead to rights in one of the most explosive, deeply illegal royal scandals in modern history, and the mainstream media is completely missing the absolute magnitude of what just occurred behind palace doors. We are not talking about a petty family disagreement or a leaked tabloid rumor. We are talking about the literal theft of a priceless national treasure, a desperate, forged cover-up attempt involving a recovering king, and Prince William stepping in to ruthlessly shut down the Queen Consort in front of the entire institution. This is the exact type of scandal that permanently alters the hierarchy of the monarchy, and it is honestly wild that the palace managed to keep it as quiet as they did, until now. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's expose exactly how the heir to the throne used the full weight of the British legal system to completely dismantle Camilla's shadow operation. To truly understand the absolute audacity of this alleged crime, you have to understand the specific artifact at the center of the storm. Back in 2017, the Governor-General of Canada presented Queen Elizabeth II with an absolute masterpiece known as the Sapphire Jubilee Snowflake Brooch. This wasn't just a random piece of jewelry. It was a highly significant state gift commissioned with rare beluga sapphires from Baffin Island to honor her 65 years on the throne. The entire point of a diplomatic gift of that magnitude is that it is absolutely not personal property. It belongs exclusively to the crown, it is legally mandated to remain inside the Royal Collection Trust, and it is meant to be protected for the institution. State artifacts are not shiny trinkets the Queen gets to casually hand out to her relatives because she feels like it. But when Queen Elizabeth tragically passed away in 2022, a massive, chaotic administrative transition occurred. The palace was frantically cataloging tens of thousands of artifacts and moving items between heavily guarded residences. During this massive institutional shuffle, a severe operational gap opened up in the inventory tracking system, and that tiny window of confusion was exactly what Camilla's sister needed. Camilla's sister is a completely private citizen. She holds 0 royal titles, she possesses 0 constitutional authority, and she has absolutely no business inside restricted palace archives. Yet somehow, during the chaos, she managed to bypass security, access the highly restricted vault containing the Sapphire Jubilee brooch, and physically remove a national treasure, taking it directly into her private home. She kept it for months, treating a priceless state artifact like her own personal property. Eventually, the palace initiated an independent forensic audit of the state property collection, and the discrepancy immediately triggered massive alarm bells. The auditors dug into the records and realized the brooch had been removed without a single shred of proper authorization, no signed transfers, no legal paperwork, absolutely nothing. Camilla's sister was in possession of a stolen state artifact, which under British civil law is a severe, highly prosecutable federal offense. When Camilla realized the audit had exposed the theft, she knew her sister was facing an imminent, disastrous high court criminal investigation. And what Camilla did next to stop the police from kicking down her sister's door is honestly terrifying. While King Charles was isolated and dealing with his intensive medical recovery, Camilla somehow managed to bypass protocol, access his private quarters, and utilize his official sovereign authority to issue what the palace calls a protective directive. She essentially had official documents forged stating that the king, by his own personal authority, was gifting the Sapphire Jubilee brooch to her sister. This was a desperate, highly illegal attempt to magically reclassify a federal theft into a legitimate transfer of property. If that directive had actually been accepted, sovereign immunity would have completely shut down the police investigation, blocking detectives from ever questioning her sister or securing a search warrant. Camilla was actively weaponizing the king's vulnerability to make a massive felony completely disappear. She was entirely banking on the traditional palace culture of silence, assuming that nobody would dare challenge a document bearing the king's seal, especially during his medical crisis. But she completely underestimated the absolute steel of Princess Anne. As the official guardian of the Royal Collection Trust, and was the one who received this highly suspicious directive. And didn't hesitate for a single second. She flatly refused to accept it. She explicitly informed the household that diplomatic gifts can never be classified as personal property, and that absolutely nobody has the right to hand out national treasures to their civilian relatives. And immediately compiled the airtight inventory records, the provenance documents, and the irrefutable proof of the theft, and marched the entire dossier directly to Prince William at Kensington Palace. The absolute second the Prince of Wales received the evidence, the entire dynamic of the scandal shifted. William had a massive decision to make. He could have handled this the old-fashioned way, burying the evidence, protecting the family name, and negotiating a quiet, secret return of the brooch behind closed doors to avoid public embarrassment. But William did the exact opposite. He looked at the evidence and treated it like a straightforward, severe legal violation. He made it violently clear to his legal team that the era of using the crown to shield relatives from criminal consequences was officially dead. The message was unmistakable. The rule of law applies to absolutely everyone, regardless of who they are married to. William immediately authorized a full-scale, High Court enforcement measure. The speed and aggression of the resulting police raid was absolutely stunning. On the morning of June 10th, an emergency task force authorized directly by the High Courts descended upon the private residence of Camilla's sister. This wasn't a polite negotiation. It was a formal, authorized seizure. The authorities breached the property, located the sapphire Jubilee brooch, thoroughly documented the scene, and recovered the stolen artifact. Camilla's desperate attempt to use the king's authority to shield her family had completely, humiliatingly failed. The palace press office immediately went into a total, absolute lockdown, refusing to issue a single statement or spin the narrative. The silence was entirely intentional. William was letting the brutal, legal reality of the raid speak for itself. But William didn't just stop at recovering the stolen jewelry. He built a permanent, unbreakable legal trap to ensure Camilla could never attempt a heist like this again. He officially transferred all of Queen Elizabeth's most significant historical artifacts into a newly established, ironclad entity called the Royal Heritage Trust. This is an independent public trust that Camilla has absolutely zero power to influence. The assets are legally bound exclusively to the direct line of succession, permanently stripping any current or future monarch of the ability to use state property for personal favors. Every single fake directive Camilla had drawn up became instantly legally void. William built a massive institutional firewall, completely isolating the queen consort from the true wealth of the crown. The ultimate, devastating punctuation mark to this entire saga occurred just weeks later at a highly publicized official state engagement. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped out of her vehicle and walked perfectly into the flash of the international cameras, prominently wearing the recovered sapphire Jubilee brooch pinned directly to her ceremonial attire. There was no press release, no explanation, and no grand announcement. She just wore it. It was the ultimate, silent execution, a brilliant, undeniable visual statement confirming to the entire world that the artifact had been successfully recovered, the queen consort's shadow operation had been completely dismantled, and the true, absolute power of the British monarchy now rests entirely with the Prince and Princess of Wales.